Hey guys, and welcome back to the Natty Scene podcast. I'm joined by my good friend Josh Bridgman, the other end of the line. And Josh just mentioned that we actually did a podcast pretty much this time last year. So me and Josh are very consistent on these yearly podcasts. And I'm pretty sure that this time next year we'll both be in a very similar position, I presume, I think. We'll soon learn after this podcast. And we'll probably be doing another podcast about where we're at that point, and that will be pretty exciting to follow as well. So you can follow the chronicles of AJ and Josh following through very similar phases. So Josh, to get things started, we don't need to introduce Josh. I'm pretty sure that everyone knows who Josh is, what his background is, and what he's done so far. So we really don't need an intro. So let's just crack into where you're at right now, dude. So give people a little bit of an update as to where you're at in your off-season, how long you've been in the off-season for, where your body weight's at, and just sort of how things are going from a training perspective at the moment.
For sure. So first of all, thank you for having me on, of course.
No worries.
I started my massing phase kind of straight out of my competition, which was mid-October last year.
Sure.
And I massed until, pretty solidly until April, where unfortunately, I came down with appendicitis and I had to get my appendix out. So
it didn't go that well initially, though, did it? Like the initial sort of rebound out of the competition.
Yeah,
would you have
so
done
the
that
initial
differently?
rebound. I mean, those of you guys who know, you know. But the person I was with at the time kind of pushed things a little bit harder than I think should have been pushed, and I just
in both ways.
Typical thing. And the worst thing about it was, I was so on the money, and I'd built this season of consistency, and I was ready to just transition straight away, and it kind of upset my stride a little bit.
Sure.
So it did take me, and for those of you guys who do quote unquote binge and do eat a lot of food and do eat in a heavy calorie surplus post competition, it did take me a while to kind of recalibrate.
Yes.
And get my body fat into a good fat point. So a couple months that took me. But strength and everything was fine. I was progressing. It was mainly just the look that I didn't have at the time. It was just kind of the.
You got strong fast. You got strong way faster than I did.
Yeah, I got really strong, really fast. But I don't know. I just that kind of body fat distribution just wasn't. It didn't look right. It was very midsection-y.
Yes,
very
I know.
And lean arms, lean legs. As you know, you had the shredded legs for ages.
Yeah, really old.
It's probably still quite shredded, to be honest. And it's kind of well, that's good then. Kind of redistributed body fat, getting a very healthy place mentally, physically, kind of January, end of December, pushed hard till kind of April. Then unfortunately got the appendix, where I was kind of out of the training the kind of training that we do.
Yeah,
sure. I was out of that for probably about a month, 5 weeks.
Okay.
So I tried to maintain as much as possible. Obviously, I had that initial week where I kind of couldn't really eat, I couldn't really do much. But I think I maintained fairly well.
Yeah.
And then from there, so we're talking kind of end of April, beginning of May, I enlisted the help of Calum Race. So I'm sure guys who listen to this podcast will know him. Someone who I kind of looked up to for a while and kind of followed for a while. Just thought, all right, if I want to take it to the next step, maximize everything, looked at what he did and jumped on. And then since then, I've been hitting every single note, as you know how it goes.
Yeah, man.
And feeling very good on the beginning of August, feeling the biggest, strongest, best version of myself.
Yeah.
Just pushing up from here.
Yeah, superb. And I think, from the perspective of coming from different coaching backgrounds, obviously I know your journey very well. You coached yourself for a period of time. You followed that up with another coach, and in the industry that we're in, I think a lot of people that would maybe think that the perspectives of the two coaches that you've currently had are fairly similar. But I think from knowing a little bit more about both the way the coaches work, I think that actually the coaching services itself are quite drastically different between the two coaches. So I'm not going to get you obviously to compare and contrast, but I'm going to get you to definitely answer the question as to what you feel so far that you've really learnt from Calum, and how do you think it's changed your perspective on things, especially within the off-season as a natural bodybuilder?
For sure. So I've learned the importance of recovery more than anything.
Right, cool.
I think that's probably the headliner.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember kind of towards the end of my prep last year, I wasn't even thinking about sleep. I remember I was talking about how I was having trouble with sleep, and I had no like bell ringing saying this is gonna actually affect what's happening with your visuals. There was no bell there. There was no correlation between my sleep, my recovery, and my physique. Didn't have that connection. So one thing that I learned from actually following him beforehand, I feel like I almost got his principles, was the importance of sleep, the importance of recovery. And like recovering harder, just as hard as you train, actively sitting down, actively, supplementing, right, actively splitting your protein, all this kind of stuff all the time, and actually going for it and putting an effort into that recovery. So that's the biggest and most important thing. And then just getting meticulous and being anal with everything, big on blood glucose, HRV, I was new to those things, monitoring my sleep, and every single thing that goes along with it, every single variable. But I would say pretty much every variable that we can think of is being looked at in some manner. And that's something that I think was missing a little bit in previous coaching relationships and my own coaching relationship with myself. I wasn't focusing on these things.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, that's the biggest thing for sure.
And would you say, from your perspective as an athlete, obviously you've learned a lot that you can apply to yourself, but would you say that working with Calum, you've also potentially learned a lot that you can apply to your own coaching services and the way that you work with clients? Because obviously, I think from what I know about the two coaches, especially the way that they coach in terms of the feedback response, the general coach-client experience is kind of quite different, and not to say that one is better than the other, because I have a lot of people that work with your first coach, and I know them, and I know that what the process in which they check in with him is actually what they need. They need that sort of very quick response, very basic, and they don't need much else. But do you think that you've opened up your eyes to potentially offering a greater service to the people that you coach?
Yeah, massively, because obviously being on the end of both styles of coaching, like I know which one I prefer and I know which one I would like to offer to people if they want it, because obviously, not everyone does want that, like you said. Of
course.
So I think it opens my eyes to a bit more flexibility with how I deal with clients. Some will need more care, some will need more conversation, more face-to-face contact time, and others are just going to get their head down and get it done. So it's definitely give me some value in terms of putting it onto my own clients as well.
Sure, absolutely. And with things like HRV and blood glucose, like, do you find, because I've found this with clients and myself, I think a lot of what they tell me is stuff that I already kind of could diagnose myself if I wasn't taking the reading. So, for example, if I was going through a really hard bout of training, I was getting overreached, I'd feel that, and I'd know my HRV would be shit. So there's almost no point in me taking it because I know it's going to be crap. Same if my sleep's crap, I know my HRV and my blood glucose might be affected. How are you applying this to your clients? Like, do you get clients to use HRV or blood glucose, or do you still get them to sort of give their own feedback that they're working out themselves before using the tools?
Yeah, so exactly what you just said then. So one thing that I've learned since taking these readings is trying to draw correlations between this reading, that reading, and this reading, and how I'm actually feeling. And like you said, it will get to the point, and that is my goal, is to not have to do any of this stuff, because I know, because I can feel it. I know when I'm run down. I know when I've pushed extremely hard, and it's about kind of getting my clients to understand their own body, because I'm not going to know their body as well as they are. I'm not going to feel what they feel, so I can only take what the feedback is. But the best thing that I'm trying to do is just trying to get them to understand the feedback. And then if maybe the understanding isn't there, I can bring in one thing like the elite HRV. And then we know, I'm feeling a little bit rubbish this week. Oh, is it? Okay, let's just take the HRV this week, every day this week, which days are upset. And you can kind of draw correlations between your own feedback and what the feedback of the external tools is giving.
Yeah, I do agree with that, man. I think a lot of the tools we have at our disposal are tools that we kind of could diagnose a little bit ourselves. And that's kind of the use of the tool, I think, is it just allows you to get that biofeedback going yourself internally, which works really, really well for when you don't have those tools. So when it comes to training, let's talk a little bit about training, because I followed your training for a while. I know that you've always been a guy that's pretty damn strong. You've always been a guy that's fairly much focused on the basics. You haven't done too much fluff over your training career. And obviously working with Calum, there's a lot of new things that you're doing and a lot of interesting things. And a lot of people are catching on to this. You know, even myself, through following Calum, I've started trying a lot of things that I haven't previously done in the past as well. And certainly seen the benefit of doing so. So what would you say from a training perspective has changed the most? And how do you think that that's going to replicate itself in the physique that you show next year?
I think things that have changed, for sure, like how much I'm criticizing my form is gone. Well, how much Calum criticizes my form is high, you know, and I feel the difference already. I do feel the difference. Like I feel thicker, stronger, better, it's more stable than anything.
Yeah.
It's so fucking easy, as you know, to chase numbers. It's so easy to just want that PB so fucking bad that you just let that form slip a little bit, even if it's 10%, even if it's 20%, and it's just that brain to muscle recruitment of saying, do not let that go, do not let that go every single time.
Yeah.
And then a little bit about exercise selection. So more, I'm always taking feedback of what exercises work for me. Not everything does.
Yes.
A little bit more band work with strength profiles, kind of optimizing the pec a little bit more, and generally actually worrying about, like, not worrying, but thinking about loading my spine and not loading and versus not loading. I wasn't really considering that before. It didn't even come into my head before that. Sure. But now it makes sense. You know, now it makes sense. The way that things are set up, and generally just optimizing frequency, volume, things that I've always known. But in terms of training selection, exercise selection, just slightly different things, and I'm reaping the benefits for sure. But that's not to say that things didn't work before, because things 100% worked before, and I know that I could go back to what I was doing before in another, you know, a year ago, 2 years ago, and I know that I'd work again because of the way I'd apply it.
Yeah.
But I do think the change has definitely encouraged some more growth.
Yeah, understood. And one of the questions that we actually got through Instagram was why and what was the sort of the rationale and behind leaving behind the barbell back squat. I've not seen you back squat for a while. I fucking loved watching you back squat. We back squatted together, and I was actually stronger than you at the time, and you surpassed my strength. I told you would, and you surpassed my strength pretty quick. Now the back squat is gone. So what's
I'm honestly gutted about it. I'm honestly gutted about it because I was loving it. I've always wanted to squat 200. I finally did it, and then it was like it just got taken away from me, and I was just like, you bastard. So I think the rationale is, from what I can, I haven't asked that question directly or anything. I just kind of got my program, got on with it, gave feedback, and we kind of adjusted it as we went. But I think the rationale is because I'm trying to split quads and hamstrings as much as possible. So I'm trying to optimize, or I'm trying to take exercises that are going to optimize the quad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for example, like a heel elevated, like hack squat or something, where I can concentrate on pushing my knees forward and not worrying about where my spine's going and flexing at the hips.
Yeah.
I can optimize the quad more. Looking at the pattern of my squat, it's just everything. You know, it's glute, hams, quads. It's a good squat. It's going to recruit everything.
Yeah.
And I think he just wants to prioritize one more than the other.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't see many of his clients back squatting, and I think you're very correct in the rationale that I think he would say that it's down to the fact that maybe the barbell squat isn't the best move for hypertrophy of the quads. I think, you know, having myself, like you probably followed myself as well. I've been on and off back squatting this year. Like, I really haven't invested as much in the back squat as I have in recent years. Like, I think my last off season I was doing a lot of low bar, like a hella low bar. I got really strong at low bar, but I think the issue with that is you get very efficient at squatting. And once you get efficient at squatting, you've got to question yourself as to whether it's a move to target the quads or whether it's a move just to tax your CNS, because it's fucking hard. I remember being like really broken after squat sessions. I remember in our session you went from like low volume to like squatting, deadlifting, hacking, hip thrusting, you can
I
barely
never
walk
think
the day
that's
after.
I was like shaking from the inside. I've never experienced that. I've been doing that low. I'd been doing that with low volume for about 10 months straight. Nothing had changed, and I thought, oh, I'll just do a different session today. Oh my god!
Yeah, that was a good session. So that's training. Obviously, a lot of people will understand the processes behind that, and I honestly do think your physique, well, it's already like noticeable in the changes that you've made, and I think coming down next year, you'll certainly see the difference. I think next year is the plan next year to work with Calum as well throughout a prep, most likely.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah.
We can do a full transition. I think if you give any coach a chance, you need to have a full spectrum of off on, because otherwise, what's the point? You know, like they need to learn your body. It's all a process. So
yeah, agreed. That would be awesome. Yeah, I think also I think you maybe gave away quite a lot of tissue in your last prep. Yeah. I remember when you started, we were voicing concerns between each other about the length and about how much you had to lose in that time period. So I think this time round, maybe even just starting off in a better position, giving it a little bit more time, and that change will look like you've put on way more muscle in a year than you actually have, because I think you'll just retain a lot more muscle, which is my goal as well. I don't really want to do another 45-week prep.
Yeah,
next time I compete.
It took us towards the end. It's just
I mean, this is the argument, man. Like, this is because obviously you did a short prep, but also lost quite a lot, and I did a long prep, but also lost quite a lot. I think the issue with both of us is we lost too much in one big hit.
Yeah, I agree.
Think, splitting up the loss would be a better approach. Like, almost do a little diet before you even start the prep, hold and maintain, and then start from a good position. I think one of the good examples of that most recently, you may follow him, Cameron Thomas. He did like a pretty long maintenance phase, and then he dropped the hammer. And when he dropped the hammer, like, he's come in so fast because he's just started from a very good place, both with food, physique, everything. So I think that goes to show. So on the topic of food with Calum, I know he's very, very in tune with optimizing the way that you eat throughout the day. So I know you've discussed this quite often on your YouTube, and you've done full days of eating, etc. But what would you say is the main thing that you've taken away that potentially you haven't already discussed in terms of food, and whether it's even things like controlling inflammation or the way in which you eat throughout the day? What would you say is the main thing that you're sort of taking home at the moment from food?
I think just food choice, like kind of what suits you better, like what can I put away, because when it gets to these upper echelons of a bulk, like, it's about putting the food away first and foremost. And if you can't put the food away because you don't like the food choice, you're not going to get put the food away. It's got to be super palatable. To be honest, every single thing that I pick is just within thoughts to gut health, and just the thinking, like, I don't want a stomach ache, I don't want to be bloated, I don't want to feel like shit the next morning. Like, everything has to be like clockwork, so I can get the food in all times. So I'm kind of just controlling, like, my gluten, my lactose, any kind of like trigger foods. Something that I was never doing before. I was just eating and not even thinking about why I had a bad stomach. It was just pretty much clueless things. But and just picking things with digestion in consideration. And like since I've been doing that, I've really had zero problems this off season with gut health versus last season, when I had an array of problems.
Are you more consistent than last off season in terms of food? And were you maybe last off season were you having more meals where you think, I'll just estimate this, or I'll go out and eat this, or whatever? Because I know that you were pretty damn consistent last off season too, because you only had a short window.
Yeah, I don't think, like, in terms of, I'm still pretty much, I was still always getting the food, and I was still always getting the macros hit. I just think food choices just weren't smart. They just weren't. I wasn't really thinking about things when I was doing it, really.
Sure, absolutely. So in terms of next year, I know your plans are to compete, and I think a lot of people want to know where you're going to compete and what show you're going to do and what class. I know that all of this is up in the air at the moment, but where do you think you're headed? Do you think you want to step on stage as a bodybuilder and you want to step on stage in trunks versus the board shorts? Like, what's the deal? What's the deal with that at the moment?
It's difficult. It's very difficult. I did say it would matter on how much size I can put on and all this kind of thing. I did want to do classic, but obviously they don't have a classic natural bodybuilding one, which is kind of what I'd want to do.
Sure, yeah.
Because it's really difficult to hang with those big boys who are using PEDs. It's really difficult unless you're kind of premium genetics. It's very difficult to hang with them, especially on a bodybuilding stage. Like, it's hard enough on a men's physique stage, let alone having to step up to bodybuilding stage to kind of hang with them. So yeah, I'm thinking in my head right now. I want to try natural physique. I want to try natural bodybuilding, and I might throw a classic one in there as well.
Yeah,
and I think why not do both?
What drives you the most, Josh, out of the three? Like, what is physique still something that you have a lot of passion about? And
I just love the look of those guys. I love the look of those guys. I just love the look of the flow. Versus the bodybuilders. Like, it's just the way my brain works. Like, I'm not a big fan of like the bodybuilding posing and it's quite I don't know. Just one of those things doesn't go with me. But
I know what you mean.
But then also, I just want to get absolutely skin shredded and I want to get my glutes out as well. So
yes.
It's like, but I might fall in love with it. I've never posed like a bodybuilder. I've been trying to throw up poses for Calum and they're just like, they feel so awkward. I don't know my angles. So I do think like once I kind of bring some body fat down, do find the angles, do find out how to pose and how to like express myself, I think I'm gonna fall in love with it. I really do, because that's what I love is how I can come out onto the stage. I can just do my little side poses. I know they're super easy for men's physique, but I'm so comfortable with it. So it's probably the fear of being uncomfortable on a bodybuilding stage. But that's kind of why I want to do it so bad, because I think it would be a big like kind of barrier broken down for me to get.
Yeah, I think once you find the flow, dude, I think you'll love the posing, because the poses that you can hit as a bodybuilder, you get a lot more diversity in terms of the shots you can hit, and the whole things you're talking about in terms of flow, shape, symmetry, proportion, like, you could almost take, the fact that there isn't a classic physique natural class and just go into a natural bodybuilding show and just pose very classically, and you'll get really marked high from a symmetry, proportions perspective, which they're always part of the judging criteria, and it would be interesting to see what your stage weight would be as well. I think, we were talking about it, I think, on Instagram about where you'd fall. I think you'd probably be a heavy, which would be interesting. You most likely be a heavy. You'd be above. I think you'd be above 80 kilos on stage, wouldn't you? Really?
Yeah, I mean,
You're not going to lose 20 kilos, really.
No, not again.
No.
I mean, when I was primed, ready, and full, I was like 85, 86 on stage, and I definitely need to be leaner than that if I'm going to get my glutes in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're not going to get. I don't think you'll get 5 kilos off where you were last year.
Well, I don't even want to try.
No, man, that would be ridiculously shit.
And I lost a considerable amount of muscle, so.
Yes, of course. Yeah, so that would be very interesting to follow, and I don't know, potentially we'll do a similar show at some point if I do prep next year. That would be awesome. Obviously, I'll be the skinny boy category, and you'll be in the heavy boy category. But there's no reason why we can't meet in an overall or something. It's cool. So that's pretty much all the questions I wanted to ask you. I'll bring up the questions that we got on Instagram, and we'll just scroll through a few of these for about 5-10 minutes or so. So, right, let's pick some ones that are maybe a little bit better than the others, because some of them are just quite repetitive questions that you've already answered. So let's go for let's go for a simple one first. How much weight do you actually try and gain, like per week in your off-season phases at the moment? Are you really going by week at the moment, or are you going by the look? Like, how do you work things out in terms of that?
So everything is kind of look and feel at the moment. Right. I'm not too worried about the weight, as long as kind of I'm not seeing any kind of like extra fatty deposits this week. Is there any like holding points, any sticking points for body fat? I kind of just push up body weight alongside strength and everything while monitoring body fat. If body fat seems to be creeping up a little bit too much one week, I'm gonna hold where I am. If everything's looking good, I'm feeling good, I'm gonna push. It's not really a weight. I think people get caught up in a weight too much. Like, I've had so many messages recently. I need to get to 80 kilos this off season for this. Like, well, you don't know how you're going to look at 80 kilos yet. So, like, you know, like, creep up there gradually, and then maybe you're going to find your look somewhere in between that. Don't set yourself a weight, because it doesn't, you know, it doesn't always translate. It doesn't always translate.
Yeah.
And you can if you set a weight, you could just find yourself eating to get that weight, and you're going to have too much body fat just because you want to get that weight. You know, it's a balance you've got to find.
Yeah, and the amount of muscle that you'll gain in that period of time, you'll probably lose those all that extra pound of muscle that you gained. You'll lose it when you have to diet down really aggressively to get all the fat that you gained off. So it's just it's a catch-22 really. But I think, you know, the way that you're doing things at the moment is pretty damn good. How much CBD would you recommend for a new user to vape per day? Do you have a number on that?
So I haven't tried vaping, but I would start with something like 10 milligrams, and then just slowly work up depending how you feel and symptom relief, anything like that.
Sure. Okay. At what stage do you expect, or do you think you'd make a transition to assisted bodybuilding if you were going to do that?
Oh man, I've been talking about this with my mum when I was in Venice. You know, she was probing me about it, and you won't believe it. She said I should do it. She said I should.
Fucking hell, I'm surprised.
I know, I was surprised as well. But she said you don't want to be like. I've asked this question to myself thousands and thousands and thousands of times. You know.
Yeah.
Some people are different. You know. I don't know how you think about it, but I feel like you're someone who's just like, no, I'm not going to do it. I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm the guy who's got that question in his head all the time, and I'm just, oh my god. So I was talking to her, and she said like you can't look back and say you've not tried it. So
yeah.
I'm thinking I'm definitely going to do this next season, natural, competitive season. I'm going to see the difference. Like, if the difference is like, that's pretty decent, like, I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to keep doing that until I'm like, you know what?
This is shit.
Yeah, this is too natty for my liking. You know? Because I even feel like my transition, my stage look from last year versus the year before was pretty considerable, just for my own personal. Yeah. It was pretty considerable, so like I had no reason to say, okay, I need to take drugs now, because I was like 3-4 kilos heavier. So I'm going to do the same thing again, and I've had 2 years off this time, so it should be more considerable. So yeah, I still need to give it. It's a question that I'm always asking myself, but I'm not 100% yet.
Yeah. I think what you said about my opinions is very true. I really don't see it happening. It's not something that has come into my head. I do see people that do hop across and make some considerable progress, and that I think from a physique perspective, Josh, my want for it doesn't exist in the physique department. I look up to more natural bodybuilders in terms of a physique than I look up to assisted, but you're like me. We fucking love moving weight in the gym, and I'd be very intrigued to know how strong I could get on a deadlift or something like that. Just with some extra oomph.
And sometimes I think like the amount of progress that me and you get is like ridiculous, because not everyone is doing this kind of progress because they're not maximizing everything like we're doing. And I just think, stick a little jab in you, what's going to happen?
Yeah, man, we'd fucking need new hack squats, I think. Like,
literally, we'd have plates left. That's why I think I see these big juiced up bodybuilders. I think, why have you got no more plates on there? Like, you should be doubling that. Yeah,
tell me about it. And I think someone, I think actually Cameron, who we were talking about earlier, brought up a topic of the fact that most natural bodybuilders train and outside of the gym work harder on their nutrition than most assisted. And whilst there are like loads of very, very hardworking assisted bodybuilders, I do agree that because we know that our tools are food, training, sleep, we fucking nail it when we really want to nail it. You have to, because you just don't have the, like you said, the little jab. So we answered the barbell squat question. What would you say are the main benefits of CBD in terms of what you've experienced or what is generally displayed in the studies, etc.? What would you say are the main benefits?
So sort of like anti-inflammatory. I kind of take it after my I take heavier doses after my heavy days, and I do feel like a little bit of a alleviation effect.
Sure.
It's annoying. It's annoying that this whole CBD trend has come because everyone's like, "Oh, I need to get it. I need to get it. It's going to change my game." It's not going to change your game if everything else isn't in place. So make sure everything else is in place, and then maybe use it as an additive, so then you can notice the difference. It's not like a miracle. It's not like a new miracle that everyone's like. CBD's been around for 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah,
People
man.
using it. It's not a miracle. Just use it as a supplement. As that, it's a supplement to your diet, to your training, to your recovery. So. Just like anti-inflammatory and super calm at night, good sleep as well.
Okay, cool. And can you give one tip to someone who's pushing their body weight up for the first time?
Don't get too fat. Because it's super easy to chase numbers, like we've been saying in this podcast. Like it's so easy to just keep pushing, and then if it goes too far, you just got to come back down, and it could be a little bit of a waste of time. Like you said, you could be losing those extra pound, 2 pounds of body weight that you've gained.
Yeah.
But someone who's pushing their body weight at first, just focus on the fundamentals.
Yeah. I think being honest with yourself is pretty key in that phase. Like actually taking pictures, because in previous off seasons, I've just thought, the muscle's got to be coming on. Let's just training big hoodies and just crack on. And I never took progress photos. But this off season, I've been pretty adamant in terms of taking some photos. I like for my own sanity to take some in really good lighting, and I like also to take some in very natural lighting, which I very rarely put up because I fucking hate them.
I hate it too.
Yeah, no, man. I just hate them, but it is what it is. And I think the ones that I take in the honest lighting, I use as my gauge for body fat, because you're only as you're only as lean as your fattest body part when you diet down. So you've got to keep an eye on your areas where you're going to store more. And if those areas are getting too soft, you've got to either pull back or maintain. And I think for us, I know that we both love dieting process. We both love prep. I think it's easy for us to, in an off season, if we didn't have someone sort of saying, keep going, it's easy for us to say, I'll just pull back, or I'll just maintain, or something like that. But we know the importance of pushing up. But I think, for someone doing it the first time, just stay accountable to either yourself or someone else. Cool. I think we'll pretty much leave that there. The other questions are pretty much things that I'm sure I've heard you talk about before. So yeah, mate, thank you very much for having a chat with me. It's been great, as usual. I'm sure we'll get in a session at some point in the near future. Where are you located at the moment, man?
I'm in Gloucestershire.
Gloucestershire. Okay. How far is that? How far is that from Birmingham? Because I'm moving up there soon.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
That's 50 minutes for me. Easy.
Oh, fuck, strong. Okay, cool. Well, we're definitely getting some sessions at some point.
Ultimate Fitness, and maybe my return there. I've missed it too much.
Yes, definitely, man. You'll have a reason to come. So we'll definitely get in, because a few people ask when we're training again. So we'll definitely get in some sessions soon, and I'm sure we'll film them. And next year, if we're both prepping as well, that'll be wicked to get a few in. Because I'm sure that we both have that similar passion for it when we're prepping, and I'm sure that some of those sessions will be tear-jerking worthy.
I think about it daily, go back on that prep. I think about it every day. I love it.
Yes, mate. I know what you mean. There's something very special about it. It makes pretty much every other aspect of your life respond in a pretty good way, because you get to pour so much into it, and it just really does make a difference. Cool, dude. So, yeah. Thank you guys for listening. As usual, I'll leave any of Josh's bits below. Have you got spaces for coaching at the moment if people are interested?
Yep.
Yeah,
a few
cool.
spaces.
Wicked. So, yeah, if anyone's interested in, obviously, Josh's services, and I think the fact that he's working with Calum and has displayed, that he's learnt a lot from working with other people, and actually the fact that he's worked with multiple coaches is something that you should really look up to. I think that's one of the things that maybe I wished I'd done more when I was younger, is work with a few different people. Because, the amount that you learn and obviously can pass on to your clients is great. So, yeah, hit Josh up if you're interested in coaching. And stay tuned for the next episode. And thanks again, Josh. We'll chat soon.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. In a bit.